In the vast expanse of the galaxy, Earth was often dismissed as nothing more than a speck, a pale blue dot among countless stars. Its people, humans, were primitive in the eyes of the galactic powers, fragile beings who had yet to master interstellar travel, still tangled in their own conflicts and limitations. But on this small planet, a revolution was quietly brewing, one that would reshape the very fabric of the universe. It began with a single event, an explosion of human ingenuity that shocked the rest of the galaxy. The world had long been divided, torn apart by political factions, resource scarcity, and infighting. But the spark of change came from an unlikely source, a new form of energy discovered deep within Earth's oceans, harnessed by an obscure scientist named Dr. Alara Voss. Her discovery, an almost limitless source of clean energy, could power ships across the stars. For the first time, Earth had something to offer that the galactic powers couldn't ignore. The news spread like wildfire, first to the scientific communities, then to the corporate giants, and eventually to the highest echelons of power. The alien civilizations had long regarded Earth as little more than a curiosity, a backwater planet far too busy with its internal problems to pose any real threat. But now, they were forced to reconsider. It wasn't long before a group of interstellar diplomats arrived on Earth. They came from the Velker Dominion, a race of towering, imperious beings who ruled a vast swath of the galaxy. The Velker were known for their advanced technologies and their ruthless approach to maintaining control over their empire. Their ambassador, High Lord Calthor, was a being of such immense size and power that his presence alone filled the room with an air of palpable dominance. "We've come for what is ours," Calthor announced as he towered over Earth's representatives. His deep voice rumbled like thunder, and his gaze swept across the gathered humans with condescending amusement. "The energy you've discovered belongs to the Velker. You are not equipped to handle it. We shall take it, and you will benefit from our protection." The human leaders, their backs stiff with the weight of history and the lingering shame of centuries of subjugation, stood firm. They had never before faced such direct threats from extraterrestrial forces, but something within them stirred. They were no longer the meek species they had once been. The discovery of this new energy was their chance, a rare opportunity to break free from the chains of galactic domination. Dr. Voss, who had always believed in the power of human innovation, had prepared for this moment. A network of hidden laboratories had been established, and the discovery was only the first piece in a much larger puzzle. As the Velker ambassador threatened to strip Earth of its newfound asset, Dr. Voss revealed the second part of her plan, a fleet of prototype ships, designed with the very energy source the Velker sought to control. The ships were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Smaller than the typical warships of the galactic powers, they were nimble and versatile, equipped with advanced cloaking technology and weaponry powered by the new energy. Earth's first interstellar fleet was ready, but what the Velker didn't understand was that the humans didn't need to match them in size or strength. Their true power lay in their determination. The Velker scoffed at the small ships. "You think these toys can challenge us?" Calthor sneered. "We will crush your entire fleet with a flick of our wrist." But Dr. Voss and her team knew something the Velker had never accounted for: the human spirit. Humans had always thrived on innovation, on pushing boundaries. It wasn't their size or their raw power that made them a force to be reckoned with. It was their drive, their adaptability, and their ability to turn adversity into opportunity. The first engagement between the two forces was swift and brutal. The Velker fleet, brimming with their confidence and overwhelming size, was blindsided by the agility and unpredictable tactics of the human ships. The Velker struggled to track the Earth vessels as they darted in and out of the engagement zones, striking with precision and speed. It was the beginning of something that would become the story of humanity's rise. As the first battle ended in a stunning victory for Earth, Calthor's arrogance began to waver. For the first time, he realized that the humans weren't just a nuisance, they were a challenge. And that challenge, however small it seemed, was one the galaxy would not be able to ignore for long. The spark had been lit. Earth's rise had begun. The victory against the Velker had been nothing short of miraculous, but it was only the beginning. The shockwave of humanity's triumph reverberated throughout the galaxy, catching the attention of more than just the Velker. Other galactic empires and factions, who had long watched Earth from afar, began to take notice. The humans had not only survived the encounter with the Velker, they had outsmarted them. The question now was whether this was a fluke or the start of something greater. In the weeks that followed the battle, Earth's newfound strength was quickly tested. The Velker, humiliated by their defeat, sent reinforcements, determined to crush the upstart species. But this time, they were not prepared for what awaited them. Earth's fleet had grown in number and strength, built on the same energy source that had initially drawn the Velker's attention. Dr. Alara Voss had not only perfected the energy harnessing technology but had also developed new methods of combat that allowed the smaller human ships to outmaneuver the much larger, slower Velker warships. The humans, despite their relatively small numbers, quickly learned how to exploit their advantages. Their ships were agile, their crews were innovative, and their tactics were unorthodox. In space battles that were once considered unwinnable for a species as young as humanity, the humans managed to hold their ground and even emerge victorious. Earth's fleet began to carve out a reputation, one that struck fear into the hearts of their enemies. At the same time, on Earth, the population was coming to grips with the reality of their newfound power. The governments of the world, once fractured and weak, began to form alliances, driven by the need to protect their homeworld and secure their place among the stars. Former rivals put aside their differences, recognizing that humanity's survival depended on unity. Earth's newly formed Galactic Council became the backbone of a rapidly developing spacefaring civilization, one that would soon face even greater challenges. Dr. Voss, now a hero on Earth, understood the stakes better than anyone. The Velker, though humbled by their defeats, would not be the only power to test humanity's resolve. The galaxy was a vast and dangerous place, filled with empires, corporations, and mercenary factions, all vying for control. But she knew that Earth's greatest strength lay not in its technological advances, but in the unyielding spirit of its people. Meanwhile, the Velker Empire, under pressure from the growing resistance of the humans, began to splinter. Their once unified front was now fractured, as rival factions within the Dominions sought to either retaliate against Earth or negotiate peace. Calthor, still bitter about his defeat, led the charge for a final, decisive strike against humanity. His forces had been rebuilt, and this time, he was determined not to underestimate the humans again. But in the shadows of the Velker Empire, whispers of dissent began to spread. Some of the more progressive factions within the Dominion saw the rise of humanity as an opportunity. These factions, led by individuals who sought to break away from the old ways of the Velker, began to make contact with Earth. They saw humanity not as a threat, but as an ally, a small but powerful force that could help them overthrow the ancient regime. As these secretive alliances formed, Earth found itself at the crossroads of a larger galactic struggle, one that would define the future of the universe itself. Humanity, once considered insignificant, was now positioned to tip the balance of power in the galaxy. But in this game of politics and power, there would be no guarantees. Enemies, both old and new, would soon learn just how dangerous it was to underestimate the will of a species determined to forge its own future. The fire that had been sparked on Earth had begun to spread across the stars. What began as a small rebellion against the Velker's oppressive rule was now becoming a movement, a revolution that would see Earth rise from the ashes of its past and take its place among the great powers of the galaxy. And as the first signs of a new galactic war began to take shape, one thing was certain: humanity was no longer just a small, insignificant species. They were unstoppable.
As Earth's influence spread throughout the galaxy, the balance of power shifted in ways that even the most seasoned galactic strategists couldn't predict. The Velker, once confident in their dominance, found themselves increasingly vulnerable. They had underestimated humanity, and now their empire was beginning to crack under the pressure of Earth's resistance and the growing number of factions that sought to overthrow them. On Earth, the Galactic Council worked tirelessly to strengthen their position. Dr. Voss, still at the heart of humanity's rise, had become more than just a scientist. She was a symbol of hope, of the possibilities that lay ahead for a species that had once been seen as weak. Under her guidance, Earth's fleet had expanded, with new ships rolling off the production lines every day. The energy source that had started it all was now being refined and utilized in ways no one had imagined. What was once a limited resource had become the cornerstone of humanity's future, allowing them to match, and in some cases, exceed, the military capabilities of their galactic foes. But even as Earth's military power grew, so too did its enemies. The Velkar were not the only threat humanity faced. A faction of the Tarvok Syndicate, a ruthless conglomerate of mercenaries and galactic warlords, had taken an interest in Earth's newfound power. The Syndicate was known for its vast network of private armies, its ruthless tactics, and its insatiable thirst for profit. They had no interest in the moral high ground or the struggles of the Velkar, only in the potential wealth to be gained from exploiting Earth's resources. At the same time, the Galan Republic, a sophisticated and highly advanced race known for their diplomatic prowess and cultural superiority, began to take a keen interest in Earth's rise. While they were not enemies, their intentions were far from benign. They sought to establish their own influence over Earth, believing that the human race, with its rapid technological advancements, was a valuable asset that could be molded into a servant of the Republic's grand vision. They offered alliances, trade deals, and protection, but their true motives were shrouded in secrecy. Could Earth trust the Republic, or was this merely another attempt to subjugate them beneath the guise of diplomacy? Earth's leadership, though unified in their desire for independence, was split over the best course of action. Some advocated for forming alliances with the more progressive factions of the galaxy, including the Velkar dissidents who had reached out in secret. These factions, led by individuals who sought to reform the Velkar Empire, offered the promise of mutual cooperation in exchange for Earth's support in toppling the old regime. Others, including high-ranking officials within the military, advocated for a more cautious approach, waiting for the right moment to strike and force the galaxy's powers to treat Earth as an equal, not a pawn. The tension within the Galactic Council reached a boiling point as the first signs of the coming war emerged. The Velkar had launched a series of raids on Earth's outer colonies, testing their defenses and trying to provoke humanity into making a mistake. Meanwhile, the Tarvok Syndicate had begun to deploy mercenary fleets near the borders of Earth's territories, eager to test their new weapons and lay claim to the valuable energy source that had made Earth a target. The Galan Republic, meanwhile, had offered an ultimatum: either Earth would agree to join the Republic's sphere of influence, or they would be forced to face the consequences of defiance. As Earth stood on the brink of intergalactic war, Dr. Voss was faced with the most difficult decision of her life. Should she continue to trust in humanity's ability to outwit their enemies and carve their own path, or should she give in to the pressure and seek alliances with the galaxy's power players to ensure Earth's survival? She had always believed in the potential of human ingenuity and determination, but now, with the future of the galaxy hanging in the balance, she wondered if even the brightest minds on Earth could hold off the impending storm. It was clear that Earth's rise was no longer a matter of simply securing their place among the stars. It was a battle for their very survival. They had made enemies on all sides, and the alliances they would form in the coming days would determine the fate of the galaxy. Would they become the champions of a new order, or would they be swallowed up by the greater powers that surrounded them? The fire that had started with a single spark now threatened to consume the galaxy. The battle for the future of Earth, and perhaps the entire universe, had only just begun. And the storm was coming, fast.
The galaxy was on the verge of war, and Earth stood at its center. Every faction that had once seen humanity as insignificant now turned their eyes toward the small blue planet, vying for control over the energy source that had made Earth a player in the cosmic arena. The peaceful existence Earth had once known was now a distant memory, replaced by a tense standoff between powers that dwarfed humanity in both size and resources. But humans were no longer willing to bow to those forces. Their determination, forged in the fires of adversity, was their greatest weapon. Dr. Voss, still reeling from the weight of the decisions before her, knew the time for diplomacy was quickly running out. The Galan Republic's ultimatum had given Earth a harsh choice: submit to their rule or face the full wrath of their military might. The Velkar, smarting from their previous defeat, had assembled a vast fleet on the outskirts of Earth's territories, ready for revenge. And the Tarvok Syndicate, though not aligned with any one empire, had made it clear they were not interested in peace. Earth's riches were too tempting to let go unchallenged. As tensions mounted, the Galactic Council, now under the leadership of a united Earth, prepared for the inevitable conflict. Their fleet, though still small compared to the galactic giants, had proven itself capable of standing its ground. But Earth's true advantage lay not in the size of their forces, but in their ability to innovate under pressure. Dr. Voss, working alongside military strategists and scientists, spearheaded the development of new technologies that would give humanity an edge in the coming battles: ships that could cloak, weapons that could disrupt enemy shields, and advanced AI systems that could predict enemy movements with uncanny precision. But the greatest weapon Earth had was the spirit of its people. It was no longer just about the energy that had drawn the galaxy's attention, it was about survival. And in that struggle, the human race had proven time and again that it would not give up without a fight. Earth had risen from the ashes of its past, and now it would face the full brunt of galactic forces seeking to bring it back down. The first battle came unexpectedly. The Velker, in a desperate attempt to reclaim their lost power, launched a full-scale assault on Earth's colonies in the Outer Rim. The attack was swift and brutal, designed to cripple Earth's supply lines and force humanity to retreat into submission. But Earth's fleet, prepared and battle-hardened from previous skirmishes, intercepted the Velker forces before they could reach the heart of Earth's territories. The Velker's massive warships loomed large, their weapons firing in devastating volleys. But the human ships, smaller and more agile, darted in and out of range, striking with surgical precision. The battle raged across the stars, with each side taking heavy losses. It was a battle of tactics, with the Velker relying on brute force and Earth using speed, strategy, and innovation. The first phase of the battle ended in a bloody stalemate, but humanity had made its mark. The Velker, though still a dominant force, had been forced to retreat, unable to break Earth's defenses. The victory was short-lived, however. The Tarvok Syndicate, seeing an opportunity in the chaos, sent their mercenaries into the fray, joining forces with the Velker in a bid to crush humanity once and for all. But Earth, anticipating this move, had already forged secret alliances with the Velker dissidents, those who had turned against the Dominion's oppressive rule. These dissidents, led by the former Velker General Kayla, offered humanity a critical advantage. With their inside knowledge of the Velker's strategies and weaknesses, Earth's forces were able to turn the tide in their favor. As the battles raged on, the Galarn Republic began to shift its stance. Their leaders, watching the relentless resistance of humanity, began to question their previous demands. Could the Republic truly control a species so determined to remain independent? Was Earth a threat to be subdued, or an ally to be courted? The Republic, with its highly advanced diplomatic machine, extended a new offer to Earth, a treaty that would guarantee Earth's autonomy, in exchange for their participation in the Republic's war against the Velker and the Tarvok Syndicate. Dr. Voss and the Galactic Council deliberated over the offer. The thought of joining forces with the Republic was tempting, but it came with a cost. Earth's independence, though preserved on paper, would be in jeopardy if the Republic's influence grew too strong. The Council knew that aligning with the Republic could be a stepping stone toward greater power, but it could also lead to humanity's subjugation under another oppressive regime. The stakes had never been higher. The galaxy was now divided between those who sought to control Earth, and those who saw its rise as a threat to their power. The battle for the stars was no longer just about territory, it was about the future of humanity itself. As the war escalated, Earth's resolve was tested like never before. But in the heat of battle, humanity had proven something that the galaxy had long forgotten, that even the smallest of stars could shine brightest in the darkest of skies. And as the war raged on, Earth's enemies would soon learn the most dangerous lesson of all: humanity would never kneel again. The war had escalated beyond what anyone could have predicted. As Earth's fleet clashed with the Velker, the Tarvok Syndicate, and the Galarn Republic, the galaxy was thrown into a state of chaos. Every corner of the galaxy seemed to have taken notice of the tiny planet that had once been regarded as insignificant. Now, Earth's name carried weight, a weight that no one, not even the great powers, could ignore. But the price of this newfound power was high. Earth's leadership faced an unprecedented challenge: how could they maintain their independence while navigating the complex web of galactic politics? With each victory, they gained enemies, but they also gained potential allies. The galaxy, for all its vastness, was not so different from Earth's early history. Just as Earth had struggled to unite its divided nations, the galaxy too was rife with fractured alliances and rival factions. And amidst the chaos, unlikely alliances began to form, alliances that could either ensure Earth's survival or doom it to destruction. The Velker, humiliated by their repeated defeats, had begun to fracture. Some factions within the Dominion saw the writing on the wall: the old ways of domination and conquest were no longer viable. They recognized that the galaxy was changing, and in this new order, humanity could be a powerful ally, if they could be convinced to join forces. The Velker dissidents, led by General Kayla, reached out to Earth once more, this time with an offer that was hard to ignore: a shared future, where both Earth and the Velker dissidents could rise together, overthrowing the old Velker regime and creating a new, more egalitarian empire. On the other side, the Tarvok Syndicate remained a looming threat. Their mercenaries were brutal and relentless, and their desire for control of Earth's energy resources was unyielding. But Earth had learned the value of unconventional tactics, and it was in the shadows of this ongoing war that Earth's most unexpected alliance came to be. A group of rogue mercenaries, former members of the Tarvok Syndicate, had grown disillusioned with their employers. These mercenaries, known as the Iron Fangs, had seen enough bloodshed and war to know that survival in the galaxy required something more than just strength, it required adaptability. Led by a charismatic and ruthless former Syndicate commander named Riona, the Iron Fangs approached Earth with a proposal: in exchange for shelter and the promise of a new life, they would fight to defend Earth from the rest of the Syndicate's forces. While the Iron Fangs were not trusted by many, they brought with them a wealth of experience in guerrilla warfare, stealth tactics, and sabotage. Their knowledge of the Tarvok Syndicate's inner workings gave Earth a tactical advantage. And though their loyalty could never be fully guaranteed, their skills were invaluable. Earth's forces, already stretched thin by the war, needed all the help they could get. But the most complicated alliance was with the Galarn Republic. Though their offer of a treaty had been tempting, Earth had hesitated. The Republic, with its advanced technology and diplomatic finesse, had promised to guarantee Earth's autonomy, but at what cost? The Republic's true intentions were still unclear. Some within the Galactic Council believed that the Republic's offer was nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to absorb Earth into their sphere of influence. Others saw it as a lifeline, an opportunity to secure peace and stability in a galaxy teetering on the edge of all-out war. Dr. Voss, ever the pragmatist, knew that Earth's survival depended on more than just military might. They needed to outthink their enemies, to turn the tide not just with weapons but with diplomacy and cunning. She worked tirelessly to build a coalition of the willing, an alliance of factions that could counterbalance the overwhelming power of the Velker, the Republic, and the Syndicate. It was a delicate balance, one that required careful negotiation, as well as the recognition that some enemies could become allies, and some allies could betray them in the end. As Earth's fleet prepared for the next major conflict, the stakes had never been higher. The galaxy was divided, and the outcome of the war would determine not only the fate of Earth, but the future of the entire galaxy. Earth's rise had proven that even the smallest of powers could make waves in the vast ocean of the stars, but in this brutal new galaxy, there was no room for half measures. It would be all or nothing. The first test of this new alliance came when the Velker, under Calther's leadership, launched a retaliatory strike against Earth's outer colonies once again. This time, however, they were not alone. The Galarn Republic had secretly aligned themselves with the Velker, seeing an opportunity to eliminate Earth as a threat once and for all. The Iron Fangs, working in the shadows, sabotaged key Velker supply lines, throwing the enemy's forces into disarray. The Velker's once unstoppable war machine now struggled to keep pace with Earth's guerrilla tactics and strategic use of their newly developed technologies. But the true turning point came when General Kayla's faction of the Velker, once enemies of Earth, turned the tide in a stunning move. Led by Kayla herself, the Velker dissidents launched a surprise attack on the Galarn Republic's fleets, forcing them to retreat and leaving Earth's forces with a much-needed advantage. In the wake of these battles, the alliance between Earth and the Velker dissidents, the Iron Fangs, and the Republic's more moderate factions began to solidify. It was a coalition born of necessity, forged in the fires of war, and one that promised to reshape the galaxy forever. Earth had risen from the depths of insignificance to become a key player in the galactic struggle. But the question remained, would these alliances hold? Or would betrayal, ambition, and the harsh realities of war tear them apart? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain, Earth was no longer a passive observer in the galaxy. It was a force to be reckoned with, and its future was now bound to the fate of the stars themselves. The galaxy had never been more fractured. Earth's newfound alliances had turned the tide of the war in its favor, but peace was a fleeting dream in a universe where power and betrayal walked hand in hand. For every victory Earth claimed, there were others who saw their rise as a direct threat to their own empires. The war was far from over, and the galaxy was held in the uneasy grip of a fragile truce. Earth, having secured its place as a key player on the galactic stage, was now faced with the daunting task of maintaining that power. The Galactic Council, while still united in its pursuit of independence, was increasingly divided on how best to achieve their goals. Some factions called for a hardline stance against any further encroachment by the Velker or the Galan Republic, while others argued that only through diplomacy could Earth ensure its future. The Iron Fangs, still untrusted by many, pressed for more aggressive tactics, advocating for the destruction of their enemies rather than negotiating peace. In the midst of these internal debates, the Velker dissidents, led by General Kala, began to push for a new order, one where the old Velker regime was toppled entirely and a new, more just empire would rise from its ashes. Earth, in its alliance with the dissidents, saw the possibility of a future where they could work together to reshape the galaxy's power structures. But there were those in the Galactic Council who were wary of aligning too closely with the Velker. They feared that Kala's vision, though noble, could be hijacked by those still loyal to the old Velker ways. Dr. Voss, ever the pragmatist, understood the delicate balance that Earth now had to navigate. Her diplomatic skills were put to the test as she worked tirelessly to maintain unity within the Council, knowing that any fracture within their ranks could spell disaster. As she spent long hours negotiating with both the Galan Republic and the Velker dissidents, she could feel the tension mounting. There were whispers of betrayal, rumors of factions within the Republic seeking to undermine Earth's newfound power. The Velker, while appearing to be Earth's allies, were still the same people who had once sought to destroy them. Trust, it seemed, was a currency too expensive to afford. The Iron Fangs, now embedded within Earth's military forces, were proving their worth on the battlefield. Their sabotage operations had crippled the Velker supply chains and destabilized key military installations. But their loyalty remained uncertain. Commander Riona, though a formidable tactician, was still driven by her own ambitions. The Iron Fangs had fought in wars across the galaxy, and it was unclear whether their loyalty to Earth was born from a desire to see humanity rise or simply because Earth had provided them with a new cause. As the war continued to ravage the galaxy, a new threat emerged from the shadows. A rogue faction within the Galan Republic, led by a powerful and ambitious senator named Vorlon, had secretly been forging alliances with the remnants of the old Velker regime. This new coalition, which called itself the Shadow Dominion, was determined to crush Earth's influence once and for all. They saw Earth's rise as an affront to their centuries-old reign and believed that only by uniting the galaxy under one banner, their banner, could peace be achieved. The Shadow Dominion's first strike came swiftly and without warning. A series of coordinated attacks on Earth's outer colonies crippled their defenses and sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The galactic powers, once hesitant to choose sides, now saw the writing on the wall. The Shadow Dominion, with its alliance of Velker loyalists and Galan hardliners, was a force that could no longer be ignored. Earth's leadership was thrust into a state of panic. The fragile alliances that had been built over the past years were now on the brink of collapse. The Velker dissidents, while still allies, were caught in the middle of this new conflict, unsure whether to support Earth or strike out on their own. The Galan Republic, divided between those who supported Earth and those who aligned with the Shadow Dominion, was fracturing along ideological lines. And the Iron Fangs, ever unpredictable, remained a wild card, their loyalty constantly in question. In the midst of this turmoil, Dr. Voss took the bold step of rallying the Council for a unified response. Earth could not afford to be torn apart by infighting, it had to stand firm in the face of this new threat. She called upon the Galactic Council to set aside their differences, to put aside their fears of betrayal, and to focus on the one goal that had united them all from the beginning, the survival of Earth. The Council, though divided, agreed to put aside their internal conflicts, at least temporarily. But the question remained, how could they defeat the Shadow Dominion? The answer came from an unexpected source. General Kayla, the leader of the Velker dissidents, stepped forward with a plan. It was bold, dangerous, and, if successful, would decimate the Shadow Dominion's forces before they could regroup. Kayla proposed a direct assault on the Shadow Dominion's capital, the heart of their power, and offered Earth's forces a critical role in the attack. Earth's advanced technology, combined with Kayla's knowledge of the Velker war machine, would give them a fighting chance. It was a gamble, one that could either cement Earth's place in the galaxy as a dominant power or destroy everything they had fought for. As the battle lines were drawn, Earth's fate hung in the balance. Would they emerge victorious, or would the galaxy's shadow swallow them whole? The war was about to enter its final phase. The fate of Earth, and the galaxy, would be determined by a single, decisive strike. And as the forces of the Shadow Dominion prepared for their next move, the stage was set for the ultimate showdown. The battle for the stars was not over, it was only just beginning. The final battle for Earth had arrived. The war that had consumed the galaxy for years had come to a head, and the fate of humanity was hanging in the balance. The Shadow Dominion, with its deadly combination of Velker loyalists and Galern hardliners, was preparing for a decisive assault on Earth's heart. But Earth, emboldened by its alliances and its determination to survive, was ready to face them head-on. The Galactic Council, though fractured and divided, had come together one last time. The Velker dissidents, under General Kayla's leadership, stood with Earth, while the Iron Fangs, still loyal to their cause despite their unpredictable nature, lent their guerrilla tactics to the fight. The Galern Republic's moderates, too, had aligned themselves with Earth, knowing that a victory against the Shadow Dominion would ensure their survival. But even with this united front, Earth knew the odds were stacked against them. The Shadow Dominion had more resources, more manpower, and more ships than Earth could possibly match. But what Earth lacked in size, they made up for in strategy, resolve, and innovation. And it was those qualities that would prove to be their greatest strength. Dr. Voss, standing alongside the leaders of the various factions, looked out at the battlefield from the command deck of Earth's flagship. The massive fleet, a coalition of Earth's finest ships, Velker war vessels, and Galern Republic fleets, was preparing to launch an all-out assault on the Shadow Dominion's capital. The stakes were higher than ever, and every life, every decision, carried weight. The battle began with an explosion of energy. Earth's fleet, cloaked by advanced stealth technology, made the first strike, catching the Shadow Dominion by surprise. Human ships, fast and agile, darted through the enemy's ranks, striking with precision and speed. The Velker warships, though still formidable, followed closely behind, their heavy weaponry tearing into the Dominion's defenses. The Shadow Dominion, though momentarily thrown off balance, quickly regrouped. Their fleets, vast and powerful, retaliated with overwhelming force. The battle raged across the stars, with ship after ship falling in the chaos of war. The sky was alive with explosions, the sounds of laser fire and energy blasts filling the void as the two forces collided. But Earth had learned to fight differently. Their forces, led by General Kayla and Commander Riona, adapted quickly to the Dominion's tactics, striking at weak points in their defense. The Iron Fangs, using their knowledge of sabotage, infiltrated the Dominion's supply lines, crippling their ability to replenish their forces. And Dr. Voss, on the front lines of the war room, coordinated the efforts of the entire fleet, using Earth's technological superiority to outmaneuver the enemy at every turn. As the battle wore on, it became clear that the tide was turning. The Shadow Dominion, though initially confident, had underestimated the strength of Earth's resolve. Their fleets were falling apart, their forces scattered and broken. The Velker dissidents, led by Kayla, pushed forward relentlessly, while Earth's fleet continued to exploit every weakness in the Dominion's ranks. But the true turning point came when the Shadow Dominion's capital, their center of power, was within reach. Earth's forces, battered but determined, had broken through the outer defenses, and now they were about to strike directly at the heart of the Dominion. The final push would require everything humanity had, every ship, every soldier, every weapon. There could be no retreat. As Earth's fleet closed in on the capital, the final piece of the puzzle fell into place. Commander Riona, with the Iron Fangs, led a covert strike against the Dominion's primary command center. Inside, the leadership of the Shadow Dominion, Senator Vorlon and his most trusted commanders, were caught off guard. The sabotage was swift, the command center falling into chaos. It was here that the true victory would be secured. In a final, desperate move, Senator Vorlon attempted to activate the Dominion's doomsday weapon, a massive device capable of destroying entire planets. But Earth, always a step ahead, had anticipated this. Dr. Voss, working alongside the Iron Fangs, had already infiltrated the weapon's core, overriding its systems before Vorlon could make his move. With the Shadow Dominion's weapon disabled and their leadership in disarray, Earth's fleet delivered the final blow. The Dominion's capital, once a symbol of their dominance, fell in flames, marking the end of their reign. The victory was hard-won, and the cost had been high. Earth had lost many of its finest soldiers, and the galaxy had been forever changed by the war. But humanity had proven something that no one could deny, that even in the face of overwhelming odds, Earth could rise and stand strong. In the aftermath of the battle, the Galactic Council, now united in their recognition of Earth's strength, began to rebuild the galaxy. The old power structures, once thought untouchable, had been shattered. Earth, no longer just a speck in the galaxy, now held a position of power. The once insignificant planet had risen from the ashes of war to become a central force in the galactic order. As Dr. Voss looked out over the remains of the battle, she knew that Earth's journey was far from over. The galaxy was still full of challenges, but humanity had proven that it would never be swept aside again. The age of Earth's rise had begun, and its influence would continue to grow. In the end, it was clear, Earth had become a symbol of hope, a reminder that, no matter how small or insignificant a planet might seem, a determined few could change the fate of the universe. The stars no longer seemed so distant. Earth had earned its place among them.